Welcome to Fizz TV Plus on X. I'm your host, Sammy, as always, my co-host, the controversial. Burn it down, Eddie Chapman. Eddie, welcome back to Fizz TV Plus on FTSN.
Thank you for having me.
Uh, you know, it's been quite a week after that. After the Browns opened the can of whoop on the Dolphins,
Yes.
We didn't have huge expectation for the game. I had the Dolphins losing, but even for me, who had been low key with expectations, and I basically said before that my prediction was that the Dolphins would not score a touchdown. I think I had it 21-9 or something like that. Still, it wasn't even 9, it was 6. And I took your recommendation. You said it's gonna be windy, it's gonna be hard for them to score points and field goals, but I kept it to a field goal. The Dolphins could not even score a touchdown in that game.
Nope.
So, Eddie, still disappointment. What are your thoughts about, first of all, about the game it was against the Cleveland Browns on last Sunday?
It was pathetic. It was the defense again couldn't stop anybody. Well, they did in the second half, but it doesn't help when your offense is giving them all them points. Turnovers after turnover after turnover. 3 more interceptions by Tua, a fumble on a kickoff return, which was going to be a good kickoff return. I don't know. They are disarray right now.
Disarray, that's the way to put it, because basically it's just a mess. For a while, I think the Dolphins find a way to stop the bleeding with so many penalties, with so many errors. The Buffalo game was okay, and the game after was okay, but they're back to square one. And I've said it before, Tua is back to reset factory mode because the regression is even worse than at his worst times with Brian Flores. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, he looks just like he did at the beginning. He is regressing. There is no more upside to Tua. He's either leveled off or he's starting his downward curve.
Do you think it's something physical? Do you think that it's basically is it mental? Because
I think
last
both.
season, I think it's both also. But last season he missed the last 2 games with the other hip, not the hip that he hurt at Alabama,
Right.
the other hip. But to have a problem with one hip is one thing. To have a problem with both hips, that's really concerning. So basically, I was always worried that we never got to see Alabama Tua with the Dolphins, but. It's not only the regression. You can see, you said it before. I know you said it to me so many times that his arm strength is not there. The strength of the speed is not there. What do you think? Elaborate a little bit more. What do you think about? Is it the regression is mentally and physically, and why is either one or both?
Well, it's definitely there mentally this year. He's not as confident. You can see he's not confident in throwing the ball. He's not going down the field. He's throwing the ball away, but when he throws it away, he's throwing it into coverage where they can pick the ball off. Injury, you know how it is. If you have one bad knee and you're rehabbing that knee, you're putting a lot on the other knee. So that's probably what happened with the hip. His whole lower half. He's hurt his ankle before, I believe, in college and in the pros, his foot, his hip. And I think that's where he's losing the strength. His arm's never been great, but he could at least put something behind it, generate it, and he can't do it now. That's just my opinion. I'm not in the room. I've never seen an X-ray of him, but it just looks like it to me on TV. There's something going on in that head of his and the body.
I think that probably he knows that his body is kind of falling. Is failing him basically, and he is in his head, because he already said during the season before that he can do half of the things Josh Allen can do. Of course, I would have loved for him to have we happen to pay half the salary, but that's never going to be the case. But I think he's in his head. I think that he knows that physically he's not 100% there, and he's trying to overcompensate. You see him to do things that you normally would never do. Of course, he's never been that kind of guy that when he throws an interception or when he's behind, there are ways to press Tua, to confuse Tua, to put pressure on Tua. He starts making mistakes. But when you combine that with the physical traits that are now, it seems like they're already failing, it's really concerning, Eddie.
Very. I was watching some plays of him against the Cardinals couple years ago, and him running for first downs, making people miss. Even the play against the Ravens when they came back, and he had to scramble around the pocket, and that one of the greatest games they played, where they came back and he had to make everybody miss in the pocket. He can't do any of that anymore. As soon as he rolls out, he's done. There's nothing good going to happen when he rolls out. It's either a sack or an interception.
Yeah, because the pressure is coming, and he cannot outrun anyone.
No.
Linebackers are going to get him from behind. If he starts running, basically, if you start running, the play is broken, because that's the fact. It's a timing offense. It's a basically a one read offense. The other ones are trying to set up the one that is supposed to be the main guy. So that if you start running, that play is over, because that's play
Yep.
right down, and is run for your lives, because everybody started to run it. And when Tyreek was there, Tyreek could do so many things. He could run past the round, basically keep the speed, run back, and basically you had a chance. But with Tyreek over there, his athleticism, when the play is broken, it's over for Tua, because you cannot overcompensate with his physical tools, Eddie.
Absolutely.
So I think our guest is here. So let's introduce our guest. Brent, welcome to Fizz TV Plus on FTSN.
Now that was the introduction. I love it. It's probably bigger than I deserve, but the fire Chris Greer was just
That's your hashtag. You're part of the Fizz TV family. You have to make you feel like family, so that's your hashtag.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I even wrote this, and yours is just way better than mine.
It wasn't necessary. You're part of the Fizz TV family, so you had to treat you like family. So welcome.
I love
first
it.
time to Fizz TV.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this. At that post game, we had some fun. I even got you got me cracking up so much at that whole reset the factory settings or default settings, because it was about as accurate as you get, and how robotic he is and his whole movements and everything. That was perfect.
For me, it's sad, basically, but now you're my only witness, because you are a witness. You know that if anyone on the media now say factory reset, I was the first one. Because that always happened. There was Fizz TV, they come in things, and I was the first one to say that, right?
Yep. Like, yep. Nope. Sammy said it first. Nope. It was the very first one. We got video evidence of this too.
That's right.
We have video evidence. Absolutely. But don't be surprised someone over there saying the exact factory settings. You go, like Leonardo DiCaprio meme that he's there. So before you got him, thank you for joining us on Fizz TV Plus, Brett. It's a pleasure for us. But we want to start talking. Eddie, I was talking about Tua. Basically, we talk about the Browns. We'll go back to the game in a minute, but I want to continue the conversation I was having with Eddie. Tua. I'm not a Tua near, like many people say, but I always been a Tua believer. I think I believe in Tua. I believe in his qualities, and I always say that we probably would never got to see Alabama Tua. I know some people say, he doesn't say Alabama Tua. Yeah, the Dolphins had a lot of tape on him. They were watching him for many years. It's not true that he lived on one play. He got always injured in Alabama a lot of times. That's for sure is true. That you're not going to deny that. But it seems like right now his body is failing him, and it's my theory that he knows that his body is failing him, and he's trying to overcompensate with other things, and that's causing a lot of trouble for him. What are your opinion of the two we're seeing right now? Because, like we said, he's back to factory settings, even worse than the beginning with Flores. It's just a mess. What are your thoughts on Tua right now? And is it his head? Is his body? What are your thoughts?
So that whole topic is it's complicated, right? So
yes, for sure.
I think the injuries was a pre-NFL excuse list for me. And to me, a lot of people are like, kind of like, you know what, we can just fall back on injuries kind of as an excuse in the back of their minds. It was just like, that's their fail safe. Like, well, we'll always have we couldn't have been wrong because Tua was the injuries, and, like, he could have been great because look what we did at Alabama. The truth is there's a couple things. One, after the hip injury, and he had 2 tightrope surgeries, he hurt both ankles in college. In the SEC championship game before the national championship, against Clemson, Jalen Hurts had to carry that team back because Tua was playing complete garbage, and they stepped on his ankle, and that kind of bought him an excuse. He actually played like hell before he got hurt, before his offensive lineman stepped on his ankle. Hurts came in, carried the team back, and rallied them to a win. And then he goes against Clemson, and people say, well, he wasn't good against Clemson because he was coming off tightrope surgery.
Okay.
But it's always an injury thing, right? And it's always him questioning his injury. Then he hurt his hip, and it was just kind of like, listen, we saw Carson Wentz just kind of fall off a cliff after the mounting injuries. It's insane. And we saw Chad Pennington. We've seen countless players just injuries piling up and ruin their career. Cam Newton's career ended early, and he was on his way to be like an all-time great quarterback if he could have kept his career going. But his body fell apart. Ben Roethlisberger, even though he had a great career, his body did start failing him, and he became a different style quarterback through the years. So we've seen that. We've seen Steve Young. We've seen Troy Aikman. Like, careers get cut short to injuries. And that was a big thing not to draft him for that very reason. The other aspect is not all of his issues are just due to injuries. And he brought up like his arm, where he doesn't really have the arm. But it's his base that he gets his power from.
Yes.
He is a base thrower. Yeah,
Yes.
like Philip Rivers was a base thrower, right? It's still limited, but Tua's base, his footwork is god awful. It's this year is the worst I've ever seen it. It was terrible in college. I don't say terrible in college. It was inconsistent and sloppy in college. When the pocket got messy, which every quarterback would deal with that, he gets frantic and his fundamentals fall apart. One key example, and you saw this on tape in college, but you get away with it when receivers are so fast and wide open. His footwork falls apart with a little bit of a messy pocket. And one example was against Carolina this year. He had a clean pocket and he sailed that ball. He's been doing that his entire career. Even the system when he was doing good in 2022 and 2023. But Tyreek is the reason. That cheat motion, that predefined reads, there were so many mismatches he was able to do it. The NFL adapted. What's wrong with Tua this year? It's a mix of things. He's not prepared mentally on film. That's obvious. He's not prepared physically. His fundamentals are just lacking. He's drifting in the pocket. His footwork is god awful. He's not lining his footwork up. He's not bringing his feet through the reads. And then the other aspect is that not only is he like not physically prepared and mentally prepared, he just doesn't seem like he cares.
Yeah.
He just seems like he's running the team. And I'll tell you what, if Jalen Waddle gets traded, which there's rumor that Jalen Waddle was the one that he was talking about being late to meetings, and he blamed, I couldn't see Waddle, then I think it's that Waddle or Tua now has Chris Greer's ear.
It will be very interesting if they find a way to trade Waddle for sure. I don't think they would. But, crazy thing has happened through the years in this organization, so I would not post and buy the Dolphins for sure.
They said it'll take more than a first-round pick. I would take the first because we shouldn't give up two more. That's a whole other story. But
if you basically say that it will take more than the first round pick, you basically saying you're not trade him.
Right. You're basically saying if you want him, come get him.
Exactly. You are the ones who want him. You have to give me what I want. It's like Larry Tons to trade. Even I would trade myself for that. So it's basically, you had to overpay, which the Texans sure did, to trade a player like Waddle, because for Waddle cost the Dolphins 2 first-round picks to get back to that spot. The one they had and the one to move on. So it's 2 first-round picks. So it's a lot of capital on one player. Who I'm not gonna. I love Waddle, but I'm not gonna. As a person, as a guy, as a member of the team, but it will be hard to say he's not. It's not a disappointment when you have Penny Sewell, who you could have drafted, or Jamar Chase, who would have been a more superior wide receiver by now. That's undisputable. Eddie, we were talking about Tua, his base, the fundamentals, his mechanics. What are your thoughts? I'm not as savvy as probably Bret and you are and that kind of stuff. I'm a fan of the game. I feed off what others smarter than me say. That's what sometimes good leaders do. So I try to believe I'm a good leader because of that. But I'm not gonna pretend I'm the expert. Like, I know you are very savvy and that kind of stuff. But I can see that his fundamentals are not the way to be. He's rushing he's jumping and throwing. Things like that. That's easy for the naked eye to see that his mechanics are not the way they was. What are your thoughts? How much it has to do with the limitation that you are showing in the field right now?
It's a lot of mental error. It's a lot of him being scared in the pocket this year, which I don't believe I've really seen before like this year. I mean, he rushed a couple throws in that Cleveland game, and there was nobody that close to him. I mean, the kid came in and threw a nice pass, yours, down the field. I'm not saying he looked good, but he stood in there and threw the ball. He's not even standing in there and throwing the ball. He's just hurrying it. And even if there's three guys covering one receiver, he's throwing it there, and it's getting picked off a lot. I mean, that's 6 interceptions in 2 games, 1 touchdown. His fundamentals this year they're terrible. He looks terrible back there.
Yeah, for sure he does. Brett, the injuries keep mounting, every single game, the more injuries and more. The Dolphins on 2000 was that they tanked because they had to, because they wanted to, the whole fiasco with Brian Flores, all that stuff. But this year it's not because they have to or want to, is because they just are. The injuries are there, the coaching is a mess, and now, Darren Waller is injured, so many years one or the other, Can you think the Dolphins can survive this amount of injuries? Because with Tyreek out, Waddle, he usually tends to, to injure himself a lot. And, there comes a game that he's hurt, but he keeps playing. Can the Dolphins basically try to, even if they want to survive this, because the amount of injuries is just absurd?
It's hard to say. See, like a team that was all in could survive it. But with all the injuries, every position is facing injuries. And every position group, sorry, Evan, every position group is facing injuries. So it's, what do we do from here? Well, at this point, like, to his comments kind of make it hard. I mean, does the team trust him? Does the team, can he rally them up? And he's been playing so bad, it all starts with him. The NFL will go as your quarterback goes. So for years, Josh Allen didn't have a good supporting cast. He was their leading rusher, leading scorer for touchdowns. Like he led the team like 2 years in a row for rushing touchdowns. So like he carried his offense and his team. But like, can Tua carry the team? And it just doesn't look like he can. Like it looks like it's not enough. And Waddle is a good receiver. He's not an elite receiver. And I feel like with an elite quarterback like Waddle, like the weapons they have now will be fine. But, there's a huge drop-off at tight end. And it's just, like, Darren Waller was a good receiving tight end, receiving threat, where Tanner Allen, you kind of got to scheme him to get open. And I think, honestly, the only way this offense is going to succeed is if they get the run game going. But even then, the NFL is predicated around throwing the football and your quarterback play. And at the end of the day, at some point, your quarterback has to win games for you. And I don't know that we could do that. And we're really not built to run the football. This team was purposely built to be a pass-heavy team. And that's how the NFL works. I mean, look at the Chiefs. All the teams that are winning, believe it or not, like the Eagles, look how they're winning right now. It's not running the football.
Yes.
People are like, oh, well, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson. Well, it's not. They're good backs. That doesn't mean the NFL's built around running. You remove Cook from the Bills, all of a sudden the Bills are still a good football team. You remove Josh Allen from there, not so much. Yes. So that's the difference in the NFL, right? So like to me, they could get the run game going, and that could help. That could help the offense be a little bit more respectable. But at the end of the day, the quarterback play is what holds them down.
Absolutely, because basically the problem is that let me go to this comment. Evan, it's not about making excuses. It's about the team you put on the field. If the players are not there, it's no excuse. You just can't win. If you ever get injured, because it comes to injury, there's no way you can succeed. It's just a fact. Eddie, the amount of injuries is starting to get ridiculous on offense. 3 offensive linemen, the tight end, the star wide receiver, and we have not get to the point where Tua gets injured, because every single year, he's gonna be. He already was in the injury report, not that big, but that's bound to happen. It's like that saying, for 30 years has snow in a town in Alaska. Is it going to snow this year? It will. So if Tua gets hurt every single year, it's coming. But what are your thoughts about the amount of injuries, which basically on offense is ridiculous right now?
Well, Greer and the guy that handles injuries on the team, I'm not sure of his name, strength coordinating coach, but the other guy, the doctors, They both have something on Ross because they both could have been fired a long time ago.
The strength conditioning guy.
Yeah, how long have I been saying that? For 5 years.
Yes.
They're
I
like
don't
the
know.
worst conditions.
Even 2023, you were saying that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's the players you sign that are hurt, but to your point, every team does have injuries, though.
Yes.
Evan, I see Evan is bugging us here
Yeah,
today.
it is. Go watch a baseball game. Leave us alone.
But he's right. I mean, look at San Francisco; they're winning. But to your point, if we had a quarterback, you don't need a great offensive line. Nobody really. The good quarterbacks in this league right now, none of them have a great offensive line. They can go out there and make a play on their own. And Tua cannot. He needs a great offensive line. I mean, if you look at all the offensive line, how many are actually that great? I know we're not built for power. I mean, I rather wish we were built for power to throw some guys around. I think Paul could be that guy for power. Brewster's kind of in that thing, but we need a quarterback that can make a play on his own and not worry about an offensive line being great all the time. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield. He had a bad game the other day, but that line's beat up. His receivers, he was down to his fourth string receiver. He's still making plays. God, I wish we had anybody even close to that, half of that, and a lot of problems would be taken care of.
And they're without Irving and without Evans, and Evans went out even longer. They've been without those two for a while. So,
yeah, Godwin or Goodwin, however you say his name, he's not playing well this year because he's still coming off of that major surgery.
Yeah. Yep.
But you draft receivers from Ohio State, you're gonna have somebody good.
Yep.
Brian Harlan comes to mind.
I see that. Isn't he from Ohio State, the guy in the Bucs? Yeah, look how good he is. It's because of Brian Hartline.
He was a smart guy too, man. He went back to finish his degree, came back to camp, and still outperformed Patrick Turner, a terrible draft pick. Oh wow, the Dolphins still cannot draft wide receivers. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit of the defense, Brett, because the defense, we had so many high hopes with the front seven, the linebackers, the defensive line, but as I talked to Eddie before, the defensive tackles usually tend to develop late. The only one who comes to mind for the Dolphins that developed right from the start was Tim Bowens, because Darrell Gardner and so many others here, Paul Solia, and even Christian Wilkins, who many fans were calling a bust in the first and second year. It took a long time to develop, because by the end of the second year, fans were calling him a bust by Chris Greer, and by the third year, everybody wanted to resign him to legacy extension. You know what happened in the end. But when you have someone like that, and you basically stockpile the defensive tackles with rookies, and you allow Calais Campbell to leave, and you don't have a veteran, so what you can really count on. And now the Dolphins are basically allowing. We're going to talk about the Falcons a little bit later, but we might be in for a record-breaking, like Evan said the other day, a record-breaking performance by John Robinson of maybe 300 yards rushing, because the Dolphins cannot stop anybody. So, it's still a disappointment, because the cornerbacks are not playing as bad as we expected. The corners are basically penalties and stuff, but Douglas is playing okay, and Jackson is just all right. But it's not as awful I think we expected it to be. So what are your thoughts about the defense? It's a huge disappointment. Anthony Weaver had a lot of hopes for being a coach next season. We'll have to see about that now.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I don't think he's a terrible coach, but he's not putting the right guys in the right positions. Yes. When some of your better players are on the bench, Matthew Judon, Willie Gay, Britt, like all these guys, these are the better players at their positions, and they're on the bench. Jalen Phillips is people are going to hate this, but a bust. He was never an elite he was an elite prospect, but he never turned to be an elite player, and he's just a good player. Chubb is just good at this point. Also, when we traded for Chubb, I was a fan of it, but I hated the injury concerns with him. You take a look at the way this pass rush is set up. These pass rushes are set up. They're not getting home. These guys have always been schemed. Phillips has always been schemed home. Chubb he's explosively off his first step, but after that, he got no pass rush moves, no instincts. He has a lot to develop and a lot to learn. Coaching has been awful there. Interior defensive line. This is what happens when you prioritize interior defensive line and interior offensive line in the draft. It's stupid. It's stupid team building. Focusing on defensive line and offensive line in the draft is completely stupid early on. You don't take offensive tackles and interior offensive lineman high. You don't take interior defensive lineman high unless that interior defensive lineman is a game wrecker. Then you can take them high, like Aaron Donald kind of guys, guys that disrupt things. They missed on impact players for that. And Wilkins, when you mentioned Wilkins, Justin Simmons was the better pick there. And because he rushes the passer, Wilkins doesn't. And this team is not built to really do anything. Like they're just the defense is kind of hodgepodge together. And you have some good players. Like Brooks is a good player. Dodson is not so good. Dodson is good in coverage, and that's it. And fans crowned him as this elite linebacker because he made an interception one game. And Sealer is getting double teamed, but Sealer is good when you have another good defensive tackle next to him taking up double teams, and he can get upfield one-on-one. But Sealer, I believe, is being misused. I think he should be more like a 5-tech and a 3-man front and an over or under. But when it comes to the linebackers, they don't play as a unit. They don't play with gap discipline whatsoever. They don't line up their run fits. Secondary-wise, Minka's not playing terrible. Minka's never been an elite player either, but he's just – if he can't sit back and play ball hawk with a successful pass rush in front of him, he's good, but he's not like a difference maker, if that makes sense. But if you can get a pass rush in front of him, then he's better. But we don't have a pass rush. We don't have guys that can win one-on-one at the point of attack. We don't have guys that can win without being schemed home, and that's a big problem there. And we have no real difference makers on this defense. And I think the personnel is completely misused. Like I said, Willie Gay should be on the field a hell of a lot more than he is. And Britt should be on the field a hell of a lot more than he is. When Britt was on the field against the Chargers, the run defense was a lot better, to the point where the Chargers ran to the opposite side, and that's when they started having success running the football to that side. And all of a sudden, we can't stop the run. I don't know. Put your best run defenders in. Maybe that would help. Put Judon in, who can stop the run and rush the passer. No. We signed these guys for nothing. So it's just a typical Chris Greer team.
That is so spot on. I want Gay, Judon, and Britt in the game, and they didn't even activate Judon because of special teams. That when I saw that, I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, other guys that can play special teams.
Yeah.
Activate him. And if your rookies can't play special teams, why the hell are they on the team?
Exactly.
And they said that Willie Gay is not playing because it's basically the backup to Brooks and not the backup to Dawson. And since Dawson is the one who's out, then if Brooks is not out, then Willie Gay is not playing. That's absurd to me because, it should be basically interchangeable. I don't get that.
But Willie Gay can play inside and outside. He did it with the Chiefs.
Yes.
I just don't understand. It's like he could play all over, and Weaver's supposed to be this creative mind. Like, Weaver played, and he played a tweener position. Like, why don't you use Gay that way? Gay can play a little bit of everything. But drop and chop Robinson and Jalen Phillips in coverage is also frustrating to watch.
You're driving me nuts.
Yeah, because they're
not really good.
They're not good at coverage whatsoever. Willie Gay could do that, but no.
Yes, he can.
What am I doing?
Well, Evan has basically hijacked the show, so he has a couple of things he wants to say. Though, he says, "Come on, Brett, give your BFF greed, give love to your BFF greed." That Brett Robinson said. Sexy, Sealer needs help, always has. That started to be true because that's we got a sample, and before that with Christian Wilkins, he did okay. Now not so much. Brett, defend yourself. Brett never wanted Derwin James. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's the inside joke because the 2018 draft, I was not big on Minka. Derwin James was better all-around player. And then when Minka won it out and stomps his feet, I was like, well, Derwin James would have just rolled with the punches. You want to play linebacker? Fine. Want to play safety? Fine. Want me to play DN? I don't care. Derwin James is a baller. He's a dog, and he's going to light a fire under the defense. But Minka's grown, but Minka's never been a terrible player. But I wanted Vita Vea. I wanted one of the quarterbacks, or I wanted Derwin James. But like Vita Vea and Derwin James, they're violent defensive players. And Minka, he's like I said, good ball hawk when everything's in front of him. Everything else, he's just. So, but I like Minka. It's just he's not an elite player, which is typical of the Dolphins drafts. They just go after meh players. And when we get a player like Jalen Phillips who plays well but not elite, everybody thinks he's elite. Like, no, he's just better than the crap we've drafted.
Yeah, now he's saying, why are you not wearing sunglasses when it's cloudy and you are indoors? You must never wear sunglasses. Well, last week he wasn't indoors, but he was wearing sunglasses. And for the record, I was chasing the rain, so I'm not the person for you to say that. So yeah,
my eye doctor actually recommended it to me.
So see, DT Rich at 13 was terrible with Greer. I want to know your thoughts about that comment, Eddie, because
Warren.
He's saying
I wanted Warren.
Yeah.
I did at 13. I wanted Warren. He could have grabbed a bunch of defensive tackles in the second round. They were still there, and they were all playing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We start our Super Bowl run next week.
Look at a couple years ago. Look what we did. We took Austin Jackson, and who could we have taken? Justin Jefferson.
Absolutely. Still, the defense
still hurts.
Is whatever it is still a pain. Basically, I've said that they're not gonna be, if they keep allowing backup running backs to rush for 130 yards. There's no way you can win the game. You cannot stop the run. There's no way you can win the game. Everyone elaborate a bit more because he's saying Jonathan Taylor. Why do you know what he's trying to say there? Because you probably said in a joke, and we took Liam.
Oh yes,
that we kind of agree for.
And
sure.
we traded up for Liam over Creed Humphrey, who is an All-Pro center with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And we took Channing Tindall over Leo Chanel, who's also a really good linebacker for the Chiefs.
Yeah,
the list goes on. It is funny.
Wrong.
People are like, "Well, that's hindsight, blah blah blah." But during those drafts, I was saying this is the player I would rather have. And if an idiot like me can see it, how can't Greer? that's so frustrating.
That's the worst part. That's the worst indictment Chris Greer in the front office can have, Eddie, because when fans has been clamoring for stuff, and they basically, and the media also has been clamoring for some stuff, and they laugh it off, and they basically are proven wrong. That's the worst indictment as a front office for Chris Greer. It's terrible right now because they were confident that at least they were saying so. I have my doubts if they were serious or not, but they felt very comfortable about the players that were put on the field. If the Dolphins could have won basically 2 or 3 of those games, they will still be a bad team. They could probably be a bad 4-3 team instead of a bad 1-60, but basically the same roster. What are your thoughts? Because the front office missed so much during the offseason.
There's just a lot of bad teams in the NFL this year, period. And we might be at the very bottom. I don't know how we beat the Jets. We're lucky, I guess, because they used Justin. If they would have used Tyrod Taylor in that game, we probably would have lost.
0-7.
Yeah, we would have been 0-7.
Tyrod Taylor always played good at the Dolphins, so I bet you can bet that's true.
If they do not get rid of Greer this year, I don't know. It's going to be another horrible draft. So, yeah, go ahead, get some picks, but get some picks this year for some players, but just don't let him pick next year if you want a real rebuild.
Well, that's why I say Jalen Phillips should be the number one trade, only because you get something now instead of letting them walk. Unless there's a compensation where you would get a 3rd round and the highest you're offered is a 4th, and then, I might just take the compensation. But honestly, I would trade him now if I can get a 3rd or 2nd round pick, because I think he would be good as a rotational pass rusher like in Philly versus being a starter pass rusher, if that makes sense. I think he would be good with a defense that could use him over the Dolphins who just are falling apart. So you're doing a young kid a favor and letting him get his contract somewhere else, and you're getting a pick for the future instead of letting him walk. It's nothing personal against Jalen Phillips. It's just get something instead of nothing. And then he'll get paid while he gets a chance to play for maybe a better team like Philly. And then all of a sudden now he's playing well, gets a better contract offer.
Jalen Phillips is basically the kind of contract that it's going to hurt when you trade him, because he's going to probably go somewhere else, and he's going to shine probably someone else's scheme, with a better scheme, with better players, and that's going to hurt because the Dolphins traded for less than a 3rd round pick. That's going to really come back to bite you.
And if he goes, I can see him going to Minnesota. I can see him going to Pittsburgh. I can see him going to Philly. San Fran. I could see these, and all these teams would use him and use him the right way, and I think he would do just fine. Because Phillips, again, not an elite player, not a TJ Watt, but he could definitely be a very good, like 8.5 sacks a year, 8.5 to 10 sack a year kind of guy in a good defense, even like in Denver or something like that, like a defense that would use him right. So
there's a good name too, TJ Watt. Who did we take over him? Charles Harris?
Charles Harris, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We ended up in Detroit, but yes, Charles Harris.
And we made up for it by getting Raekwon McMillan in the second round and that corner out of Clemson. Oh, wait a minute.
Raekwon McMillan, who was getting hurt, he was ready to the Patriots. Another mess by the Dolphins.
Didn't McMillan get hurt on the first preseason play or something?
Yes.
On the kickoff?
Sad. I was so sad because I was had high hopes for McMillan because Ohio State fan. I'm like, he could be a good linebacker. Oh.
that didn't last long for sure because
that's so Miami.
It is.
Absolutely. Other than Jalen Phillips, Eddie, and first, what are your thoughts? Who you think the Dolphins could trade other than Jalen Phillips that could could bring the Dolphins proper value other than Jalen Phillips?
I wouldn't. There's not a person on the team I wouldn't trade except maybe Patrick Paul. Anybody else is open. I'm open for business if you blow my doors off. I don't care.
And knowing you would not trade Patrick Paul yet, because knowing you will find somewhere to trade it down the line.
Not unless you're getting a haul like you got for
a Tunsil package.
Tunsil, but that'll never happen again. There'd be nobody off limits. I'd really try to get rid of Chubb and Phillips. I don't think you'll get much for Chubb. I don't even think you'd get that much for Phillips. I think you're talking a 4th round pick. That's what I think. And that'd be hard to do. I know if you let him walk, you probably get a 4th round pick the next year. But I don't even know about that. But then you're talking 2 years down the road. I don't know. Like I said earlier on the thing, I'd trade Tua for a public sub right now.
Yeah, you said that. You said that. Brett, other than Jalen Phillips, who's there in the roster, you can say the Dolphins. I know there are a lot of trade candidates, like Eddie said, basically trade everybody, but Patrick Paul. But someone that you can see the Dolphins could get proper value for. Who will you pick?
Crazy part is, believe it or not, I think Minka could definitely be one.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily buying that they wouldn't trade Waddle. I know they said they wouldn't, and he's a building piece, but it really depends on his contract too. I haven't really looked into it. I can't see. I say this. I actually can see them saying they would trade HN, or if something came up, but at the same time, I see McDaniel saying no. But how much say does he have? Because Greer didn't want HN, McDaniel did, and Greer took his son's roommate out of Cam Smith out of South Carolina first, and then took HN. So we see who's better talent evaluator. I really don't see, maybe like Rasul Douglas, one of the veteran corners they signed. I mean, it depends. Like I really only see them trading guys that they are not going to get compensation for, guys who are on the verge of being free agents that they can get picks for now and clear cap space, because they're about to set a record next year for dead cap. With Tua probably getting traded, I wouldn't say necessarily, but if they trade Tua and they get rid of Tyreek, there's going to be a lot of dead cap and guys that are walking. It's going to be ugly. But I would definitely sell high, definitely Phillips and Chubb and Minka while you're at it, because I don't think it's going to make a difference no matter who you throw in there at safety. They're definitely not going to be buyers at the deadline, because not one thing is going to fix this team. This is what happens when they go all in at the deadline like they did a couple years ago.
Absolutely, because that's what it did. Eddie, Minka Fitzpatrick is that kind of player that, I do believe still, I said it, not everybody agrees with me, but the Dolphins won that trade for Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey wasn't tradable, and they found a way to get Minka Fitzpatrick at a pick. I think the Dolphins won that trade for sure. But they can probably get better value trading Minka right now than the value they could have gotten for trading Jalen Ramsey. So, do you think the Dolphins got their loss to say, we're rebuilding, we can gonna play someone like Minka Fitzpatrick, Eddie?
I think they will. He was one of the names I forgot to bring up. But yeah, if I'm sure a contender would want his coverage ability. If you can get something for him, go ahead. Because, like you said, it doesn't matter who's back there at safety right now. I mean, it's death by 1,000 cuts with the running game, or you just let him get it over with in one big play with a touchdown over the top. So who cares?
Oh, I could also see them trading Jalen Wright. Right.
Yeah, Jalen Wright makes a lot of sense. They're probably going to try to audition him this week to see if they can, get him out there because, unless he gets hurt, it can only help his body if he finds a way to run the ball.
I'm surprised they're not getting calls on Judon either, since they're not going to use him.
Well, that's another one. Willie Gay, like guys are not playing. Like just get rid of them now. Brit, like what's the point of having them on the roster? That's just my opinion.
No, absolutely. I thought that when I saw Judon was on the inactive list last week, I said they're basically looking to trade him because why would you? They're trying not to hurt him, but if it was for special teams, that's just ridiculous because Judon is someone that every team is looking for pass rush. Every team is looking for offensive linemen. There are two basically and cornerbacks. It's basically a position in the field that teams are always looking for the trade deadline. It usually are those, but it's the Dolphins, so we'll see what happens. We're expecting a lot of trades. I've seen people saying a lot of trades for the Dolphins. I'm not the one who expect the Dolphins to basically trade a lot of people. Maybe they do one, and that's it.
I know they're getting calls because of their situation, and teams are probably like, hey, do you want to go ahead and offload some of these guys and seeing who's available? Well, the guys were mentioned. It's more like who could possibly get traded, but I do agree with you that like I can't see them doing a bunch of trades. I see one or two or two players going in a trade. I just don't see a bunch of trades or a handful of trades. I don't see them trading for anybody. The only thing I think they'll get somebody for is like we trade, I don't know, Judon, and then they just get a player in return, kind of like to fill out the trade or to fill out the depth chart kind of thing.
I want to get your opinion on both. Jordan Brooks getting a restructure today. Eddie and I chatted a bit on X about that, but it seems like they could be making them room because if sometimes when you trade someone, you take the cap hit, so they basically moving. They think they gain $3 million in cap base. What are your thoughts about that trade? Do you think there might be something they're cooking? Trading someone else and getting ready for that cap hit. Brett? Because $3 million, it's not a lot, but when you find to look for cap space to trade someone,
you're in cap hell, so does it help? I mean, sure, might as well. I mean, it's more one of the things where you want to nickel and dime the other way because they've nickel and dimed themselves into this cap hell. So, like, it feels like every little bit will help get them out of it. But I think the conundrum for me is if they trade anybody to fix next year's cap for rollover, what does it actually say about the front office? Or is Ross the one making the call? Like, I don't know. It's like, does that mean that Greer's safe, or does that mean like, it's, hey, Greer, you're going to fix some of this before I fire you? I don't know. So, but I can see like any little bit of savings they can get, I can see them making a move to do so. But I feel like that would happen maybe more closer to the offseason.
Absolutely. Any last thoughts about who could be the trading block, Eddie, and the cap space why they made today with restructuring Jordan Brooks?
Yeah, it's a restructure now. Just it was a little odd because they could have done that in the earlier when they needed the money. So I don't know why they did it unless they have something working. I'm not saying they're trading him, and they shouldn't trade him. He's one of their only defensive players I like right now. But
yeah.
So maybe it's to offload a contract, and I don't know. I mean, or they're just making sure. He said they just told him, look, we're going to suck for 2 years. We want you to stay here. So here's some money. So I don't know. I mean, if they did like trade Waddle, I could see trading Waddle or a team taking Waddle because his cap hit's really not that bad compared to other receivers, what they're making. I know he's not a number one, but some of these other guys, receivers, are getting paid ridiculous. But I don't know. I'm going to be very curious until November 4th on what their plan is. And they'll probably end up doing absolutely nothing.
Absolutely. let's talk a little bit about the game next game against the Falcons.
Oy.
Let me go. Okay, we're here. Let me get a little bit of magic because I'm new to this platform. I'm always messing up. So here we are. How do they compare? The Dolphins with the 27th ranked offense and the Falcons with the 7th offense and the passing offense 26th for the Dolphins, 10th for the Falcons. Here's the doozy one: the Dolphins rushing offense, putrid as always, 29th. That Falcons offense with Jan Robinson ranked as fourth. On defense, the Dolphins, I think they're a bit up now. They're 26. Someone probably had a very bad week because I think they were lower than that. The second overall defense in the league. You know what they happened. You know what happened with the Bills. So that you had to respect that Falcons defense for sure. In sacks, the Dolphins 20th, the Falcons 14th, and the takeaways is a big one. The Dolphins with 33rd in takeaways, and the Falcons at 8th. It's a matchup that for sure it favors the Falcons because they're not great passing the ball, but they're still in the top 10. And when you have someone like Bijan Robinson who's basically killing it, and that putrid Dolphins run defense, Brett, it's gonna be a mess. Everyone said the other day that you can see you can see him running for 300 yards for sure.
Oh, yeah, I just don't see them finding a way to stop Bijan Robinson. I mean, we've seen things like that before. I remember back in the day, the Chiefs played the Colts in the playoffs, and everybody said, "Oh, there's no way that the Colts are going to stop Larry Johnson," and they did. But this is not that situation at all. So, like anybody who thinks anything along those lines, I just don't see that happening. I think the defense. I said it from the beginning of the season. I think the defense quit. I think they were tired of getting blamed for everything. The offense turned the ball over how many times week one and how many points off of turnovers. And you can't keep putting the defense in those situations. And it's like, well, the defense sucks. The offense just keeps giving the defense short fields to protect. So I think a lot of them are just kind of frustrated. And they're trying. And they are the only unit that got better and started being more respectful or respectable in spurts. And they're trying. But at the same time, it's still not good. I can see Bijan having himself a day. This could get ugly. The only thing I can see, the only way Miami, I think, could put the defense in a better situation is if the offense can get up early and get ahead and put the ball in Penix's hands. And then you might start having some issues. We'll see. We'll see, though. Because, I mean, Justin Fields is able to move the ball down the field on this team. And they were in the red zone and they fumbled. So, I mean, I can still see Penix having a day against them, and I guess it just depends on how the Falcons do. Is this going to be the Falcons team that beat the Bills, or is this going to be the Falcons team that got beat up by the Panthers? And I really, honestly, I'm worried about the defense. I'm definitely worried about Bijan against his defense. I'm worried about Drake London, Kyle Pitts against his defense. I just don't see this defense stopping anybody. And I don't see our offense being able to compete whatsoever because I think Ulbrich is going to do a lot of what D'Amico Ryans did against Tua, and I think there's going to be another multiple interception game. But we'll see what happens there.
There used to be a time where it made me really nervous when the Dolphins were out to play in the dome because, I don't know if the dome is going to be open on Sunday or not, but I don't know. The Dolphins didn't travel well to dome teams. This season, you know what happened to the game with the Colts, so I'm not very optimistic either. That's not probably not going to help us. Eddie, what are your thoughts? It doesn't look good for the Dolphins because, Bijan Robinson running the ball and that putrid Dolphins run defense, it could get ugly, Eddie.
It's good. It will. I think Tyler Algier is going to run for 100 against them as the backup running back. They're not even going to be able to stop him. He's their power back. You hit on it with there's going to be a lot of play action too in London, and Pitts are going to see a lot of action. It could get ugly quick.
The Dolphins will have to find a way to run the ball to basically have a chance to control the tempo of the game, to not let the lead get away with his hands. But let me see the injury report. We for a while we had a time where the injury wasn't as bad, but right now some limited, everybody full. It's not gonna be a huge factor for sure because the problem right now the injuries on offense are the problem, not again here because I'm still learning this. So here we are, and Brett is here. Yeah. I'm still learning.
We were going back to
there you
Atlanta.
are. See, there you are. We're going back. Let's
I'm
go
here.
back right now. I'm still learning with this. This is not the platform I use on Pins TV, so I'm still learning. Sorry about that. But again, it could be a mess. Evan called for a record-breaking performance by the rushing of the Falcons. So I know he's salivating with the idea. I had to check his still the chat. You can fire me. Yeah, a record-breaking Barbarian performance performed by Villan Robinson because it could get ugly for sure. That running defense is putrid. It will be painful. In the morning headlines of ESPN everywhere are the humiliation by the Dolphins by a record-breaking performance from a rookie. So, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I could see it. Nothing is guaranteed in this league, right? Like that, nothing's going to be guaranteed. So this game coming up, I think this is going to be telling. I think this is going to be one ugly game. So I think we could see some rookie performances, but I think this could just be an all-out ass whooping. I mean, like, I think a lot of players that are not on your typical on the radar, I think are going to go off. To be honest with you, so I don't know. Everything seems like it fell apart here,
and it's getting worse and worse and worse. That's the problem because anyone would not be wrong to expect things to get worse, but they basically started a little bit getting better, but now it's worse and worse and worse. So
yeah,
it's concerning for sure.
I honestly, when you look at it, it just doesn't seem like it seems like they're just the media stuff. It just doesn't. Nothing seems like they're going to be on the same page, and I just feel like you're going to see just a team that quit and a team that's pissed off after losing on Monday Night Football, right? So I think that what's going to end up happening is I think the Falcons are going to come in pissed off and they're going to roll all over us. And I think it's going to be a lopsided win or a lopsided game. And I think the Falcons are going to roll. And I think it's going to be it very well could be a Tua career record of 4 or 5 interceptions. I mean, that whole 10, we're not the throw 10 interceptions. That was kind of scary for me. For McDaniel saying that because that just almost makes it sound like he doesn't have faith in Tua.
Absolutely. All right. So right now, Eddie, it could get messy, that run defense against, the power, the running power of the Falcons. I don't know. What are your thoughts? What could you expect about the Dolphins defense against the Falcons offense?
It's not good. All their strengths are weaknesses. Not that there's any strengths on the Dolphins right now, but they have a physical offensive line. They have physical backs, and Bijan can run. He's going to leave people in the dust. They're on the other side of the ball. It's just as bad. That's a physical defense, man. They hit, and they are going to be pissed off. So the Dolphins offense is going to be in trouble. Also, he's right. They might throw 5 interceptions this week. And them two look like they're throwing each other under the bus now, McDaniel and Tua.
Yeah,
That's what it looks like. I know these people say in the comments or this and that, but I think it's about each other.
No, I think it is too. And I just don't see, if you're talking our defense versus their offense, there's just no way that we even stand a chance. And then you look at their defense on the flip side, it's not like an elite defense, but it's a good defense. And they got some players that, like Zach Harrison, watch out for him. I think he's going to wreak some havoc and cause some issues. He was all over the field against the Chiefs, and I think he's going to cause some issues or I guess the 49ers rather. He's going to cause some issues for Tua, and I think it's going to be a problem.
We have a question in the chat. What does it take to get Tua back on the bench?
I think honestly, if he plays terrible in the first half, multiple interceptions, I think he'll go to the bench sooner.
I was calling for him to get benched by the end of the second quarter because I said either bench Tua by the end of the second quarter or fire my Daniel on Monday because something had to give. Eddie, what do you think? What are your thoughts? What does it take to get Tua back on the bench this Sunday?
Yeah, back on the bench, a performance like last week. If you're talking benched, the only way they're going to bench him with that contract is if he's injured. And that'd be it. And I don't wish that on anybody. That's not what I'm saying. So.
Although he could have been concussed, and that's why he threw that many interceptions.
Well, I was going to say he's concussed just by his press conferences he's been having. There's something not checking in there.
He's getting some DTE. That's what you're saying. That basically,
he's never been good at media.
Yeah, but it's worse now. He's saying stupider and stupider stuff every week.
He's trying to overcompensate so much that it's mind-boggling at times. So,
at this point, I wish he'd, go like Ricky Williams did in his first year and just wear the helmet to the press conference when he was on the Saints.
Yeah. What would it take for Tua to get benched on Sunday? Like I said, if he started making turnovers and he's getting hit and you have to bench him before the first half ends, and for him to get benched to the season, that phantom injury, that injury that comes out of nowhere, that now Tua is hurt, or then his pride, he's hurting the hip or something, and they find a way to bench him because he's injured. That would be the only way we could do it, because I don't think they will do a healthy scratch for him. I think they will find a way for it.
Adrian said he's permacussed.
Adrian, as always, the GOAT. He's permacussed. Oh, Adrian. Oh my God, Adrian. Welcome back to the chat. Before we go, you already hit the 8 p.m. mark. What are your thoughts? Who you have winning the game? What you have a score for us, Brett?
Falcons are going to win. I think it's going to be a lopsided win. The Dolphins will score a touchdown this time, but I'm thinking like 31-10 Falcons.
Eddie, do you have a number for the game and who's winning?
Yeah, 45-12.
I thought it was going to be bad, but you beat me to it. I had the Falcons 38 and the Dolphins 16. Well, it's been great. Great having you, Brett.
You dreaming?
Yeah. Garbage touchdowns, Eddie. Garbage touchdowns.
All right, you're right.
Brett, you've been great. we would love to have you on Fizz TV, the regular edition of Fizz TV during the season. On Tuesday, we would love to have you there. You've been great. Tell us what you're doing, where they can find you on social media, everywhere on FTSN.
All right, so you can find me on Twitter getting yelled at and called a hater at Bret Lagasse 67. You can find me on Fence Talk OT. I'm going to start getting on there with them on Sundays. I want to do a lot of the post-game shows like we did before. So you can find me on Fence Talk Network on a few of the shows, hopping on periodically. I took a sabbatical for a season or so, taking care of personal things, but I'm back and I'm here and I'm ready to go. And yes, Evan, I will be joining you and Greg again here soon.
I'm looking for a comment Evan did before. Let me see if I can find it. He said so many things that it's now having trouble to find the one that he said. Oh, here it is. Thursday night was our time, Brett.
That's what we used to do, but now I work Thursday nights for the most part, and this week I was on days, so I'm gonna have to shift things around to make it work for them.
Absolutely, Brad, you've been great. Eddie, as always, you're the man. That's why you got your own show, because you're so good at it.
I can't see over the line for Tuesday night. That's why.
Sorry, what's happening here, guys?
I cannot see over the monitor. That was hilarious for sure. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Eddie.
Thanks for having me.
If we're reaching the halfway point in the season, I cannot wait to get this season over, because it's gonna be pain to discuss.
The only good thing about them being so bad is we filled up an hour just because they're that bad.
Yeah, Yeah.
If they were mediocre, we would have been done in 15, 20 minutes. But they're that bad. It's fun to talk about it.
I think when they're that bad or that it's more fun to talk about because we all agree more. And when they're mediocre, there's too many things like this, that,
splintered.
But I said the other day, who would have thought that we would be missing the days of Tyreek Hill's nonsense? Because it's just a mess. Well, again, thank you, Eddie. As always, love you, my brother. Brad, it's been great. Hopefully, we can have you doing a season on Fins TV on a regular basis because you've been great.
I'd love to jump back on, guys.
Thank you. Well, I know what Eddie's going to say, but you know what I always say at the end of the show? At least we have each other.
For now.
So, there you go. Peace out, guys.
Fins up.
Thanks for watching Fins TV. Please like and subscribe.
Miami Dolphins #1. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins #1.
See you next week. Fins up.